What's up, guys? Long time no see. So, it's like mid to late August. I don't know exactly what date it is. I just figured that I'd film a little update video, catch you guys up on where I'm at with the boat. Got a little vise set up here. That's been kind of a game changer. But let's go down below and check out what's going on. All right, welcome aboard, old Maverick, once again. So, as you guys can see, we have 10 frames installed and ready to go. This set here, just got done installing them today, so we're doing well. We have 2 butt joints scarfed and glued. I had some footage filmed for that, but I wasn't really up to my standard of anything. And also, I didn't really know what I was doing for the first set of them. Now that I've developed a bit of an understanding of exactly what I'm doing with that, I feel like I'm in a much better position to give you guys a coherent video on the subject. So stay tuned for that. We got 2 to do here. This one ought to be a little bit interesting. With these, I didn't really realize that it's best to fill the holes, or at least some of the holes in there, with lozenges before routing. Just because you got a lot more to work with. You can see this one here. We're going to be doing this one in the one on the opposing side. We actually have the lozenges filling up, at least back to where the frames are, so we can get a solid glue up. So you'll see this one and this one being done. This one's going to be a little bit dicey, as I said, because we're missing some wood here, and we also don't have the lozenges installed on that one. Anyway, this broad strake here, the layers of wood are kind of separating, and it's this way. It's not this way, it's this way. So that whole plank up to somewhere in here is pretty much junk. And it's a little bit squirrely up front too, so I might just go ahead and replace that entire plank. Let's see what else. I've kind of reordered and reconfigured the way I'm doing these. So I'm not applying Sikaflex between the planks and the frames anymore. I think it's just wasteful. So what I'm doing is just epoxying the frame and the planks underneath it, getting a nice sealant coat. You can see epoxy here and up here, and just sealing off all that wood. Not really bothering with the ye old red stuff. Gonna have to start thinking about the floor timbers here. You can see everything we've pulled out. See, right there or right here. And these, a lot of them are relatively solid, but they have big steel bolts going through them, and the center area of them is going to be compromised as a result, because it's not terribly thick wood, and you can see those rusty steel fasteners are blowing it out. So thinking I want to do these in locust, although I am kind of open to pitch pine. I've been working with that stuff, and it is incredibly tough wood, and it's full of pitch. So I think it, coated in epoxy, I think it'd be perfectly adequate. Very structural wood. And I certainly have access to a lot of it around here. So yeah, we got these 2 in. What was I going to say too? We're fastening the tops of them first. Just locking everything in, and then we're doing the rivets. Just makes everything easier. And the way I'm doing it now too, I fasten the top, and then I do all of the pre-drilling and setting the nails, like on my own. And then I just have Sharina come and just hold the backing iron as I'm driving them with the air hammer and the roving punch and all that. And we've gotten this down to a pretty efficient thing. This all, even with going to the grocery store today, these 2 frames were installed in, I would say, 3 or 4 hours, maybe that? I think it was a little bit less. I didn't time it, but we're getting a lot more efficient doing these frames. So as long as I can keep my motivation high, especially with fall coming in, a little bit cooler weather, the epoxy's not going to try to kick off on me in the middle of whatever I'm doing. I ran into that when I was making these frames. It was probably 85 degrees, and that epoxy was, on one of them, it started like smoking. It was way too hot to do epoxy. And that's with the Slow Cure. Good old Slow Cure hardener from Total Boat. Want 5% off fine Total Boat epoxy products, paints, varnishes, all the other good stuff they have. Links down in the description. I get a little kickback. It helps the channel, helps the boat, right? Because that's what this is all about. I'm not grifting for my own benefit. It's for this vessel, because none of this is cheap, right? So, Total Boat Epoxy. I can't recommend it highly enough. 5% off, link down below. So I'm going to have to be putting together another order from Fairwind. Got to get some more roves. We're running fairly low. And I got to get some more of the 5/16 bronze bar stock so I can manufacture my own bolts. Once again, it's a lot cheaper to do it that way than it is to buy pre-made bolts, especially carriage bolts. Those things are ridiculous. It's like $10 a bolt. Ugh. Insane prices. But yeah, a lot cheaper to just make my own. It takes a little while, but you know, just dial in, do a batch of like 10 at a time. It's not a big deal. And you can get custom lengths too. So these are like 3 inches and change, and it just works out great. Whatever length you want, you just thread the ends with a die and it's good. So yeah, the next thing I do is going to be these butt joints, and you'll come along for the ride with that. And then after that, I'll start working my way either forward or aft. I don't know. We'll see. Eventually, that needs to come out. Got to figure out how I'm going to do that. But I'm going to have to get the engine out so I can get the engine bearer timbers out and be able to get up underneath here to remove and replace all of the frames going aft. And this bulkhead is going to have to come out too so I can actually work back there. I don't know. I'm thinking for the aft section here, it might be prudent just to remove the cockpit and the rear decks, and then just all in one fell swoop do the frames and the deck beams, and then take it from there. I don't know what I want to do. I would like an actual timber deck rather than, you know, glassed plywood like this. It's a wooden boat. Gotta love the timber deck. Now, Slowly Sailing, he did a straight laid deck back aft, which, by the way, Sean, that looks freaking amazing, dude. Awesome job. But I don't know if I'm going to do a straight lay or actually curved. It's a lot more effort and work for the curved planks, but man, it looks freaking good. Sailor Barry just did that with his boat. Of course, he did that on top of glassed plywood, but still, man, that's spiffy looking. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of lumber I can get. Anyway, I actually wanted to ask you guys what you would think about a wee bit of a history lesson on this boat. I recently acquired from the grandson of the second owner of this boat the ship's logs from his attempted voyage around the world from 1967 to 1969. And it's a pretty interesting story. I have a whole scrapbook that his daughter put together with all the newspaper articles and stuff on it. I don't know. If you guys are interested in seeing something on that, I'd be more than willing to share a bit of that story too. It's the most detailed account of anything from this boat's history that I actually have. That was a cool set of information to look through. Anyway, I guess I'll show you guys around the outside of the boat, and I'll show you that pitch pine wood that I milled up, and I got another log over there in front of the boat awaiting milling. So yeah, let's get to that. All right, so backyard here, we got the frame molding table, and then we got a stock of various lumber for the boat. These 3 boards here are a nice pitch pine that I milled up. This is very good planking stock. It's extremely dense and tough wood for pine, so I have no compunctions about using this stuff for planking wood, and it's everywhere. I'm planning on cutting down this one at some point, and that one right there. That thing's totally dead. So if I can get a good angle to cut that down, that's a hell of a lot more planking stock. Yeah, and I brought all the spars up, got them under a tarp. I got all my mahogany, my new mahogany, and all of the old mahogany. I got the cap rails up here. Got some oak 2x mahogany there. We'll have to get a bigger tarp over this stuff, which I'll probably cut out of the old boat tarp, which I replaced recently. $100 tarp. Whew. Steep, man. All right, here's the remainder of that pitch pine that was right there. We had to cut down to make way for the boat. Got this little sled here. Got the ends of the 4x angled so we can roll these right up onto here. Got a short section here. There was a bunch of nails at the bottom of this tree, and I completely roached one of my chainsaw blades trying to cut through them. That was wonderful. So I just kind of cut that end piece off, cut out where the nails were, discarded that, and went from there. So this is the boards you saw over there are the bottommost log from this tree. And I think we still got a good amount of timber in this here, and then we have that section there as well. So at some point I'll be milling this up. Maybe I'll film it if I have the gumption at the moment, but we'll see. But that's the setup. Maybe a little walk around the boat here real quick before we take off. Nice new tarp. Got off Amazon. That was about $100. That's a Vivore product. Probably some of the best cheap Chinese crap you can get. Best of the worst, I'd say. But it's not like you're gonna find an affordable tarp like this. It's 16 mil heavy duty for exactly a cheap price anyway. Look around port side here. Got all our caulking cotton hanging out. You might be wondering why I don't just decaulk the whole boat. Well, it's because the caulking is somewhat structural, so I want the tension between the planks existing until I get to working on an individual frame set, just to maintain any shred of structural integrity I can as I'm working my way fore and aft on the boat. If I was a professional shipyard with a bunch of employees, it'd be different, because we'd be doing everything all at once and it wouldn't take so long. But since it's just me and the wife occasionally, we're doing it this way, just doing it piecemeal, doing everything with everything possible in situ. Here's that butt joint that we're going to be doing. One of the ones we're going to be doing next. And you can see the chip of wood out of there. Some things I've been discovering here. So this plank in particular, that's a cedar plank, but that's a later addition because that didn't have any iron fasteners in it. That only had the stainless fasteners. So I'm kind of piecing together the work and maintenance that was done on this boat over the years. The previous owners got the boat in like the mid 80s from what I'm able to gather, and they did a massive overhaul project in like I think 1987 where everything got refastened with stainless alongside all of the rotten old iron fasteners. And I guess there were a few planks that that boatyard replaced outright. And then later on, a good section of this port bow quarter had the planks replaced with, I believe, Honduran mahogany. You can see how red it is underneath that paint. And that was later, because you can tell because of the Phillips head screws. So I think, and there's a bunch of sistered frames in here too. So I think a lot of this is going to be pretty much good to go. We're just going to have to, I might just replace the frames in here with just single ones, not even bother with the old sisters, and just replace the fasteners with bronze ones and call it good. The plank down here that I said was no good, the second one up from the garboard. So this guy right here, you can see the wood is buckling right here, and it's split apart like that, and there's big checks all throughout it. So that whole, I think I put a line right there, that whole plank is looking pretty sketchy. So that's probably going to have to be replaced, but I'm not going to cut any of that out because I want to take the whole thing out and use it as a template for cutting out the new one. Hopefully I can get some nice cedar. Jack up in Maine, I know he's got some nice cedar for like $6 a board foot, which is a good deal. It's just a matter of getting the money together all at once to go up there and get some, but it'll probably happen one of these days, because eastern white cedar is pretty hard to come by, and I don't really want to do anything else for the below the waterline planks, at least insofar as replacing planks goes. Up here above the waterline, I don't really care. I'll use construction lumber. It doesn't really matter because that's not really going to be bearing a lot of water. But, we'll go around here, check out the other side. I built this little catwalk here, a little ladder. This is actually a pallet end, just repurposed as a ladder. So you can just climb up here and jump up on deck, instead of having to go all the way around and climb up the kind of frankly sketchy ladder. Here's the starboard side. Again, you got the caulking coming out. Here's that butt joint, but it's going to be scarfed over. Here's a replaced one already. That looks good. And that was just with the construction lumber. Again, I'd rather have done that in cedar, but I didn't have any cedar and needed to get it done. It was good proof of concept. We're not going to screw with it. We're just going to ride with it. It'll get treated. Garboards are probably going to get replaced outright because they're pretty cruddy. And yeah, that is about it. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around with me on this boat rebuild project. And, if you want to help my broke ass afford some of this stuff, because none of it's cheap, the Patreon link is down below. Any and all donations go directly to this project. They don't go in my pocket. They go towards buying materials and supplies and all of that for this boat. So, it's kind of like a non-profit or whatever. You're donating to the boat. You're not donating to me. My job covers my expenses, but this is ancillary and this needs funding. So if you guys have it in you, have a spare $5 a month, I'd really appreciate any and all assistance with this project. Because, you know, that's how it is. I'm not a rich guy. I'm not a professional. I'm just some guy doing this in his backyard. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. And the next time you see me will either be another periodic update video or the video on the scarf plank repairs. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.